During my investigations, shall we call it, I came across this appellation Druid. I thought of a Druid or imagined a Druid being, one of these nature loving folk, a nature dweller, a pagan, yeah? But that's not exactly what a Druid is. A Druid or Magi existed before the Egyptian Empire. What were they? In my opinion, Druids or Magas or Magi, or some people call them star diviners. They were proficient in the science of optics, not of the literal eyes, but the heavenly eye. They would practice recollection or retro retrospective, a retro perspective. Uh, Retro perspective, is that a word? Anyway, when you arrive at a certain age and you kind of develop, looking behind, looking into the past, yeah, you kind of, have these insights. We call this wisdom. So that's why it actually is important to listen to the elderly because, you know, we ought to have more respect. But modern civilization doesn't really want you to listen to the elderly. No, they want you stupid constantly. There's a reason for that. They want you distracted and stupid. Um, so the Magi, they practice something called the dissociation with the psychophysical or astral projection. They will literally abandon the body and visit other realms. There's only one realm, by the way. When I say other realms, I say they were visiting uh, the the part that is not physical, you know, because like Aristotle, I think, said nothing can be known except for what your sensors can, capture. But there's another way of knowing, and that is astral projection. You don't really need your senses to know these things. What you would do is um, so would you would capture the essence of things using magic or philosophia. You would capture the essence of things uh, without knowing them objectively or witnessing and or not holding them in your hands. You know, um, things like love, hope, beauty, faith. You cannot hold them in your hands, but they exist nevertheless. So, in order to visit, they would dissociate from the body or astral project, and they will go into the realm of the dead, quote unquote, the realm of the not physical. And there they would gather or connect with, it's almost like connecting with the cloud server. They would go and plug in and they would have access to what some modern philosophers, so-called philosophers, called the collective conscious. Yeah, it's a repository of knowledge, and those who can astral project, they may or can have access to that. It's You see, because where's that book? I'm going to read a quote here. I think it was because, where is it? The soul of man is immortal. This is Plato. And at one time comes to an end, which is called dying away, and at another is born again, but never perishes, and having been born many times, has acquired the knowledge of all and everything. Yes. So, in between the embodiment, right, the soul is in a state of non being. Because it has lived many lives, it has acquired knowledge of all and everything. And you can access this knowledge of everything if you learn how to do dissociation or astral project. And this is what the Druids did. They would dissociate with the body. This science has a name. It's called apotheosis or retroduction. Yeah, it's one of those things that the Catholic Church seeked to destroy memory of. They've burned, many books and destroyed many people because of this. Often these things just happen. For instance, an example that I can remember right now was Jacob Boehme. He was a mystic. He was a farmer, actually. He was illiterate, But one day he had a divine, what's it called? A divine vision of what he did. He astral projected without knowing, and he started writing about it. What he was doing was no different from what is written in Platonism, Hinduism, Arivedanta, etc., etc. He was doing it the same way. He was doing the same thing without ever reading Arivedanta or Plato, or without ever having access to. He was a farmer, and he started just writing. He started, uh, recollecting, remembering um, his visits to the astral realm, quote unquote. He was accessing this cloud. So philosophy is not what people think it is. Philosophy is actually magic. Magic is what I just described. It is dissociation with the psychophysical and access information that is not, here in our hands. Um, these retroductive powers are magic, the magi. And the older you get, the more of these powers you get. We call this wisdom. Wisdom is its own reward. It is a view, a retrospective view that is magic. Of course, there's a lot of people that confuse magic with sorcery. You know, if you see someone with a staff or a wand, that's a sorcerer. They they conjure mantras. They use talismans. They read cards. I don't know. They do those sorts of things. Those are sorcerers. They are practicing rituals. You know, um, I mean, does sorcery work? I mean, kind of, because it manipulates your emotions. It kind of manipulates your thoughts, your feelings. For instance, Edward Bernays, he was a sorcerer because he manipulated people's feelings, emotions, ideas. He manipulated people's thoughts. He would implement in these people's minds these thoughts using publicity. When the early days of television and etc. He used to implement radio and newspapers. He implemented these ideas on people's brains, and later, right, introduced a follow-up, introduced a continuation or a solution to whatever he implemented. And people, almost like thought it was like a revelation, or it was something organic, or a self-realizing prophecy. They were like, oh, they would watch an ad or something, and they would, oh man, I have this terrible urge to drink this type of soda, or to buy this type of car, or and they didn't know it. We also can say it was predictive programming, and the cinema is also, can be used. A lot of people say, oh, these films are, prophecy. Yeah, maybe. Or they were just introducing ideas before they would go with their plans, you know. And every 20 years, you can do this. You introduced ideas into the collective, and then later you implement what you wanted to do, and people think it's normal. You know, that's sorcery. You know, magic is philosophy. Philosophy is going to the essence of things, to the roots of things. It is an ancient methodology of arriving quickly to answers to things that cannot be objectively known, witnessed, or held in your hand, things that can't be counted or measured. It is metaphysics. In order to understand natural order, to understand natura naturans, you need magic, you know. So I'm gonna shut up now. Tell me what you guys think. Have a nice day.